Features of a case study. Dear students, we talked about the definition of case study, and we discussed that a case study is basically an exhaustive study of a phenomena, of a concept, or an event, or an activity, or an individual in real life situation, right? So case study is really important to be followed by researchers. In this session, we are going to talk about the features of a case study. So a case study is basically a comprehensive study of a social unit or of a social, a feature, social kind of something, right? So it could be like a person, an institution, a group, a community, or family, right? So that is studied comprehensively while using the features of case study. Case study is particularly planned for something to be evaluated, to be explored, particularly when it is a small, number of the unit, okay? So it's not basically the large number of unit, okay, which are explored within case study. In case study, we are selecting, and in most cases, it is just one case, one single case, right? So the small number of units to be studied in a case, right? And that is, the topic which is explored within case study. It is studied very extensively, right? So extensively that all aspects of the same case are explored, and the case is studied as a social unit very deeply and very thoroughly. So deeply because it is studied from inside and outside, okay? And it is thoroughly because each feature, each detail of the case is explored by the researchers, okay? And there is a possibility that the case could be studied qualitatively as well as quantitatively, right? And in some cases, you can create a design which is based on blend. So it could be like adding up from the features of qualitative as well as quantitative studies. You would be using the qualitative aspect of the research, and you would also be using numericals and statistics, right? So that's a possibility, but in most cases, a case study is qualitative, right? So you can select any of the qualitative, quantitative, or blend for your design. Case study covers a sufficient wide cycle of time, right? So there is a kind of cycle used, and when the one particular cycle is finished, then there could be another follow-up cycle, right? So it is a kind of study which is carried out in order to comprehensively explore a particular event or concept or phenomena within a sufficient cycle of time. There could be a follow-up cycle as well, because case study is by its nature based on the follow-up design, okay? So it has a continuity in its nature, right? So therefore, it's one feature of case study that the continuity would be there. You would be using something which happened in past, which was explored in past, right? And now you are particularly interested in it. One example which I could hear is about the case study is that if you want to explore and you want to know the graduates of a particular institution, that they graduated some 5 years ago, now how many of them are employed and where are they employed? The majority of them are working for whom? Inside the country or outside the country? So you can just go for some cases in this perspective, and you can use case study procedures for evaluating them. So case study is to describe events or situations, and it is the basic level initial data which is to be identified for future evaluation and detailed investigation, right? So it's a kind of exploratory research, okay? Case study. You may not necessarily have any past knowledge, right? So you are exploring a phenomenon for the first time, right? And that would be the description of a particular event, okay? Then the extensive examination is carried out, right? So case study is when the extensive description is there and the examination is completely given, and that completeness is really important because you claim that you explored a particular case, right? So in this case, when you are using a particular case, you would be gathering information for the sake of pulling up and pulling together the information for a greater amount of information, right? So that is something which is exhaustive in nature. And then we have another feature of a case study, which is to challenge and to question something which has been for a long time period taken for granted, right? So that's one feature of case study, that it is used in order to evaluate something which existed earlier, but the perspective was different. Now you are challenging it, and you are now again from the very beginning, you want to give another shape, another meaning to the existing phenomena. So that's another kind of a feature of case study. And these are the points which are the characteristics of case study research.